16 years old. Have you seen her?
There are no crow here.
The dark truth about Native American boarding schools. For over a century, indigenous children were taken from their families and forced into brutal boarding schools designed to erase their culture. Many endured abuse, neglect, and unimaginable suffering. 1923 sheds light on this tragic history through Teonna Rainwater's story. Watch to uncover the painful reality behind these institutions. While 1923 is a fictitious tale, Teonna's narrative is firmly grounded in historical fact. For more than a century, the American government and religious groups ran Native American boarding schools with the purpose of forcing indigenous students to assimilate into white culture. These schools, which were frequently administered by Catholic and Protestant organizations, deprived students of their cultural identity by prohibiting their languages, cutting their hair, and imposing harsh discipline. Abuse, both physical and sexual, was widespread, and many children died as a result of hunger, sickness, and neglect. The boarding school system was part of a wider government program aimed at eradicating indigenous traditions, with the motto, "Kill the Indian, save the man." Many survivors of these institutions experienced severe trauma, and the consequences of forced assimilation are being felt by indigenous people today. Taylor Sheridan illuminates a tragic but crucial part of American history by weaving this true event into 1923. Teonna's horrific escape from the boarding school in Season 1 and her continuous battle in Season 2 reflect the real-life experiences of many indigenous youngsters who struggled for their heritage and independence. The episode begins with a terrible and devastating sequence in which Father Renaud and his investigators raid a Comanche hamlet in their unrelenting pursuit of Teonna Rainwater. The men of the hamlet march forward to defend their people, only to be shot down without hesitation. As the frightened villagers watch, the detectives intensify their violence, first terrorizing a lady and then turning their attention to a little kid, demanding any information they may have on Teonna's location. The cruelty reaches a point where Father Renaud, known for his ruthlessness, tells them to leave. However, as they ride away, one of the investigators, Marshal Kent, runs over the boy with his horse, a stunning act of brutality that demonstrates the depths of their wickedness. Meanwhile, Teonna continues her adventure with her father, runs his horse, and Pete, who is now played by Jeremy Guana following the death of Cole Brings Plenty. The show pays respect to Brings Plenty with a title card at the opening of each episode. As they go, they examine the terrible truth of how the American government keeps Native Americans dependent and impoverished. The subject quickly switches to Teonna's desire to marry Pete, which she acknowledges she has fervently. Runs his horse blesses her, but encourages her to wait until after the ceremony to consummate their love. Teonna, amusingly disputing his advice, inquires whether he had waited for his ceremony. With a chuckle, he says, "No one waits for the ceremony, you only need to say it." This moment of joy gives a small respite from the danger that surrounds them. Later, Teonna acts on her thoughts and finds Pete when he is hunting. Without hesitation, she puts down a blanket and proceeds to undress, stating her intentions. Pete, first taken aback, quickly understands, and they enjoy an intimate moment. However, before they can proceed farther, they discover a white guy on horseback watching them. Pete advances cautiously, gathering Teonna's discarded garments and coming face to face with the stranger. Fortunately, the person has no malicious intent. He is looking for stray cattle and informs Pete that they had unintentionally crossed into Texas rather than Oklahoma, as they had intended. Pete returns to Teonna with the news and suggests they notify her father. Pete, on the other hand, decides to follow Teonna's lead because she now has other responsibilities. Returning to the search, Father Renaud and his soldiers remain unrelenting in their pursuit of Teonna. Their aggressive techniques indicate that they will stop at nothing to find her. When they come across the Comanche campsite, they have no mercy, slaughtering any males who dare to protect their families. Even Renaud is horrified when Marshal Kent goes a step further and holds a gun to a child's head in a desperate attempt to extract information. When the locals don't respond, Kent's brutality reaches a climax as he viciously tramples the youngster beneath his horse. Thank you for watching.